Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Salandar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus New Sports. That basically works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. Yes, from the world of NBA, LA Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors 103-100, while the Grizzlies win against the Spurs 100-96. And yes, from the world of golf, the PGA Championship, yes, world number one Dustin Johnson is back in his home, the state of South Carolina, this week to compete in the PGA Championship. And yes, from the world of football, Liverpool is back in the top four of Premier League after winning against Burnley 3-0 on Wednesday. And yes, from the world of Olympics, IOC chief says Olympics will be held safely despite Japan's COVID surge. And yes, those were the headlines. And surely talking about the world of NBA to begin with, yes, the play-in games, not to forget, the LA Lakers managed to win against the Golden State Warriors to begin with. And there's so much happening in terms of this match that, I'd surely want to discuss more. But for in-depth analysis, we have with us Abbas. Abbas, welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure, Vandar.
So we definitely start off with this match. What a match, because the Warriors led 55-42. But the point is, automatically, it ended up being at a position where LA Lakers managed to win against the Golden State Warriors. What's your complete take on the entire match?
What a game it was, Vandar, definitely, as you mentioned. And it was a treat to watch for all the NBA fans. I always believe that the play-in tournament will be interesting, and that is why I was in favor for it. Because this is one game for all the marbles in the world. If you lose, you have a chance of going back home. So this is where the real players or the superstars are made. And we had the best game or the best matchup in the NBA right there with LeBron James and Steph Curry face to face against each other, facing possible elimination or confirming a playoff spot for their team. And the game was so tight for the first two quarters.
Right.
The Warriors were really, really dominant and played really good basketball. But the Lakers came back and took control of the game late in the fourth quarter.
And coming back from the situation that they were in by the halftime, it surely is interesting to see the 55-42. That's quite a lead, to be precise. It's not a short lead. And, eventually it comes up to a point that, it was pretty much like LeBron James versus Steph Curry. That's exactly how I portrayed this to see this match.
This is what we all wanted to see as basketball fans. We want to see LeBron versus Steph Curry. We don't want to see Lakers versus the Warriors or any other team for that sort. And this is exactly what we had tonight. So Steph Curry shot brilliantly. He shot 6 for 9 from the three-point line, and he scored 37 points, which is amazing for Steph Curry. And with the lineup that he has had all season, he's been just carrying this Warriors team throughout the season. But again, the Lakers team is number one defensively in the NBA, and they're number one defensively for some reason. There is no team in the NBA which could probably lock Steph Curry the way they did in the second half. And they showed their defensive prowess in the second half, even though they started pretty slow offensively, but they were able to gain momentum. And then at the end, when there were 12 seconds remaining and the score was tied at 100 apiece with the ball in LeBron James' hand with 1.5 seconds on the shot clock, you know what he'll do? He'll just shoot a 3, maybe 4 or 5 from behind the three-point arc, and he'll make it when it matters most.
And I think that was the spot, that was the highlight of the game, if I'm not wrong.
It was the highlight of the game. The highlight was their defense, Lakers hustle, and then obviously LeBron's 3 was an icing on the cake, and he just shows how good he is in clutch moments. And not to take anything away from Steph Curry, because we know he can shoot lights out in clutch as well. But tonight was LeBron James' night, so he gave his team a victory, 103-100, and it was a great game to watch.
And if we look at the stats, if I look back into obviously the first quarter and the second quarter to be precise, in terms of LA Lakers' performance in the first and the second quarter, obviously they were 42 as mentioned, and 55 were the Golden State Warriors. But then we talk about the third quarter. The third quarter, in that very quarter, everything changed. LA Lakers went up to 35 points in that one quarter, and obviously being more solid on the fourth one, scoring a 26, whereas Golden State Warriors, after the halftime, I think they kind of lost their grip on the game.
Well, yes, I guess it took Lakers one half to realize that guarding Steph Curry is not a single man's job. They have to put two men, at least not three, on Steph Curry to make sure that he doesn't score. And this is what was happening. In the last play when Steph Curry had the ball, he had three players guarding him actively, with the fourth one, LeBron, waiting from behind to see if Steph Curry gets loose. So this is how good Steph Curry is, and this is how good your defense has to be if you have to stop them. And basically, this defensive scheme was put on the floor after the first half, and this is how they got stops, or they stopped the pouring of threes from the Warriors side. Even though the other players, they were Kent Bazemore and Draymond Green, they played really good. Andrew Wiggins, of course, scored 21 points tonight. But still, the focus was on Steph Curry. You have to get the ball from out of his hands. So they were able to get the ball out of Steph Curry's hands in the second half, much better than the first half, and this is how they got the win.
True. I'd surely want to talk about the second play-in match that actually happened, which was the Grizzlies versus the Spurs, and obviously 100-96. Another interesting game. What's your take on this particular match?
This was, again, an interesting game, and again, one of the teams playing for a playoff spot, and the other team is now facing elimination, which is the San Antonio Spurs. This was a close game, which Memphis won 100-96. Historically, Spurs has been a really, really good team, and we have all the stats that, one of the most consistent teams in the NBA. But this has been not so promising season for them and Greg Popovich. But tonight's game, they lost pretty closely, even though DeMar DeRozan scored 20 points to go along with Rudy Gay's 20 points as well. But we knew that Ja Morant had the spark in him. He's a really, really good basketball player, and with his young age and tremendous athleticism, he is ready to lead the Memphis team for the next many years to come. So Ja Morant scored 20 points to go along with Dylan Brooks, 24 points. And then Jonas Valanciunas, the veteran, scored 23 points and grabbed 23 rebounds. So they kind of did everything, and a great all-around game against a team like Spurs, who is a great fundamental team. We know their set plays and pick and rolls when they start running. It's really difficult to hold them back. But again, the athleticism, the youth of Memphis Grizzlies paid off, and they were able to win this game and clinch, another chance to play for the 8th spot in the Western Conference standings. But now they're facing Golden State Warriors next, and this is the matchup that we want.
That would surely be interesting, and as we divide this entire match into quarters, at the start, obviously the Grizzlies had a brilliant start, 38, and in the first quarter the Spurs only scored 19 points. But then if we see how the Spurs played well was the second and the fourth quarter. These were the quarters that they even scored more than the Grizzlies. But obviously when the Grizzlies started at the very beginning, they scored 38 points in the first quarter, and Spurs managed to score only 19.
Yes, I mean, you cannot give up 38 points in one quarter and expect to win in today's league. That's just too much. That just shows that you did not come out strong enough. While the Memphis Grizzlies came out scoring 38 points in the first quarter, they were firing on all cylinders. In a situation like this, because this playing tournament is really, really new for all the players, no matter how many years you've been in the NBA, this format is new. Now, this is one game with so much emphasis on it. It's not like the playoffs where you play a 7-game series. This is just one game which will decide the future of your team, whether you'll go deep into the summer or you go back home into the off season. So this was really new, and the players had to adjust for it. And all the props to the Memphis Grizzlies that they came out strong. They knew they had to get the job done, and they finished it in style.
Right. Interestingly, obviously now the Grizzlies will be facing the Golden State Warriors on Friday. So how do you see that happening? Because in my opinion, obviously, I would vouch for the Warriors.
I believe everyone will vouch for the Warriors. And Alamdar, I see you're playing safe here, but that's what I will do, because that's the best thing to do when you have Steph Curry in discussion. But this, I believe, will be a really, really good passing the torch moment for Steph Curry to Ja Morant, even though Steph Curry is not a veteran, he still has years left. But Ja Morant is a really good and young upcoming talent from the Memphis side. And, having to face Steph Curry in an elimination game, he has a lot to learn. For Memphis Grizzlies to hold, to have any chance to win, they have to hold Steph Curry under 30 points, and holding Steph Curry under 30 points is not an easy business with the form he is in.
Right.
And I believe that Steph Curry, facing a close loss against the Lakers, will come out even stronger, and the Warriors will be a team to beat. So it'll be an interesting game, and all eyes will be on both Steph Curry and Ja Morant to see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, Abbas, thank you so much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of NBA and specifically the play-in tournament. So yes, that was Abbas, and only talked about the play-in tournament, how things are developing, and surely it's going to be super, super interesting ahead when the Grizzlies will be facing the Golden State Warriors on Friday. But anyways, this was pretty much it from the world of basketball. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and once we're back from the break, we'll discuss more sports. So see you guys after the break. And welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of NBA, how the play-ins are actually establishing themselves, and super interesting. So far, so good for them. But anyways, now we'll surely discuss an interesting tournament that's currently happening. It's the PGA Championship that's being, it started off today. We'll surely be discussing more in-depth analysis with Zain Tahir, a National Golf Fair with us. Zain, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Alamdar. Always a pleasure being here.
Great. So Zain, we'll start off with discussing the PGA Championship. Obviously, it's one of its kind. Obviously, it's one of the main major events that actually happen in terms of golf. And obviously, Jordan Spieth, surely with the history of his career, he surely has his eye on the game. Anyways, so I'd rather want to have your take on the entire tournament and the championship. How do you see it taking its charge? Because obviously, it's one of the longest courses, and as discussed, it's really a very hard course. So it's your take to begin with.
Thank you, Alamdar. Okay, to begin with, it's the PGA Championship. It's the second major of the year, and all the eyes are once again focused on what's going on in the world of golf. And there are a lot of interesting things that are going on with the players, with the top picks and everything. But something that's very important to highlight over here is that where the PGA Championship is happening right now, which is the Ocean Course, and it is the 103rd PGA Championship that's going on, and it's very critical to note here that it's a 7,800 yards course,
right,
which is the longest in the history of the PGA Championship. Whenever we come across some long courses, they are like 7,000, 7,100, but this is 7,800 yards. That means holes yardages combined makes 7,800 plus.
Right.
And that combined with the location of the course, which is in North Carolina, it's a windy area besides the Atlantic. So the Atlantic winds are really going to make it very tough. And many of the players say that on one day you're going to be hitting a certain club over there, and on the next day you can even experience a delta or a change of more than 4 or 5 clubs. That means on one day you're hitting a shot of 100 yards. On the other day, for the same shot, you're going to have to use a swing which you use for a 200-yard shot. So
right,
it's a very challenging course, and let's see how things turn up with all these top guys who have won previously this year.
It surely will be an interesting journey. Obviously, if you look back into Rory McIlroy, obviously he has a great, in terms of his achievements, he surely is electrifying. If you look back into 2012, how he actually was there, making his mark. But surely it's going to be interesting for the fact that being the longest, as you mentioned, in terms of the yards, I'm sure it would be a very difficult course of action for, I think, even the top-notch players.
Well, Alamdar, we have been discussing this. It's always a player this. This is how the game of golf is. I always say this, and it's a famous saying that you can't win a match on Thursday or a Friday,
right,
but you can certainly lose it. So no matter what the predictions, although Rory is coming back from a win, and the world of golf is discussing that it's the Roars are back, and Rory McIlroy is coming back, and he's the highest pick, and he's one of the favorites to win this match.
Right.
For a very valid reason that in 2012 you touched a very interesting point in the history of the game, because 2012's PGA Championship victory on the same Ocean Course by Rory McIlroy was the time when he sort of cemented his place as one of the great golfers that are gonna come up in this game.
Right.
But then he saw a slump, and then last week he came back with the Wells Fargo Championship. We discussed that.
Right.
So he's the highest pick, but yes, the course is playing difficult. So all the past players, even Morikawa, who's the defending champion, DeChambeau, who won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and Justin Thomas, who won the Players Championship, it's going to be a challenge for all of those. And frankly speaking, yes, Rory is the top pick, but anybody can win. Anybody can win here.
Anybody can win, and surely if we talk about anybody can win, we can also say Hideki is also a part of this game. So, in terms of events, how things have actually evolved for golf lately, we never know. He may turn out winning in this one too. Who knows?
Well, Hideki and Morikawa, who's the defending champion, Hideki, who won the Masters early this year, these are the two guys who are going to be looking for their second major championship. When it comes to Rory McIlroy, he's going to be looking for ending up the drought of majors. He just ended the drought of winning on the PGA Tour last week, but his drought of not being able to win a major is still going on.
Right.
When it comes to Jordan Spieth, he still hasn't achieved the career Grand Slam, which is called winning all 4 majors. And point to notice here that PGA Championship is the only championship that he has never won amongst the majors. So he's going to be chasing his career Grand Slam. Justin Johnson is going to be trying to come up with his lost form. And DeChambeau, we all know, is going to try to overpower the course. So let's see in which favor does it fall and who comes up strong on Sunday.
I think in terms of, if we talk about DeChambeau, I think the biggest edge with him is surely because he has the strength and, the idea to hit way beyond expectation. I think that's what we all know him for. So I think he may have an edge in terms of this huge course. How do you see that developing for someone like him?
Well, that's where the beauty of the game kicks in. And a very interesting question, Almdar, but that's where the beauty of golf kicks in. This is what the critics were saying in US Open, like DeChambeau, when he introduced his long length and his elite training program, and he changed the yardages of the game. They were like, he's not going to come up and do anything, but he won the US Open on a very tough course. Right. So you very rightly said that, yes, it's going to be an advantage for him that and all the other long hitters, that even if the yardages are playing long, these long hitters are going to have an advantage. But the beauty of the game is that that's what the experts are saying is that even if you're a long hitter, due to the tough conditions, the victory is going to belong to the person who's good around the greens, who's good with his chipping, in fact, who's good with his short game.
Right.
So let's see if DeChambeau also comes up with a very sharp short game that's going to add up to his long game, and let's see how he performs.
In terms of, if you look at the odds, because I have some of the odds that I wanted to discuss with you. If you talk about Rory McIlroy, it's 11-1, John Ram 14-1, Jordan Spieth 16-1, Justin Thomas 16-1, and DeChambeau 18-1. I'm just talking about the top 5, so that and Dustin Johnson also 18-1, make it top 6. So these are the major odds that are out there for now. But like you said, and like we know that in terms of golf, obviously nothing really. You can leave the game by Friday actually, but the actual game begins on the last 2 days.
Yeah, that's true. And let me refer to those odds. Like if you just listen to what you just mentioned, most of those names are the ones who have won this year. And let me just remind you, like that's how the odds are drawn. That's how the sponsors of the game of golf would love to see the winners come up, because this is how the system gets built. The winner of the PGA Championship, he gets an exemption of all the remaining majors for the next 5 years, not just the next year or not just the same year.
Wow.
And he gets an exemption to play on the PGA Tour and the European Tour for 5 years and 7 years consecutively. So that's how the reason why I'm linking this fact with the odds of the game, or the odds that you just mentioned, is the fact that this is how the odds are made. The golf world wants the winners to stay up there so that the sponsorships are more visible and so that the game is driven by the big names. That's why Rory is the top pick, and they want DJ, the number 1 guy, to come back. And then you mentioned Jordan Spieth, who won this year. Justin Thomas, he won the Players this year. DeChambeau, he won the Arnold Palmer Invitational this year.
Right.
So yes, the odds say a lot, but again, as I always say, the game of golf kicks in, and it can be a new guy securing his career by getting all those exemptions, or it can be these guys with the higher odds of winning. And let's see how the game of golf, folds in
But
the next 4
obviously,
days.
yeah.
It's gonna be very
But I still think if we talk about McIlroy to begin with, obviously winning a championship, obviously we just won the Wells Fargo Championship 2 weeks ago. So don't you think that surely gives a player an edge over the rest of the players?
It does. It does give you an edge, but you got to bring your best form. Like it's a very good part to touch, because if you pick the first major victory of this year, Matsuyama, not to forget that he wasn't in the best of form for quite a while, since he ended up in that week in Augusta, and he won, and he created some kind of history in Japan, back in his home country, and they're awarding him the highest civil award or something like that.
Right.
So yes, a victory just a week before helps, but the game of golf can take you anywhere. And for Rory to win a couple of weeks ago, and then playing a major championship at a course where he has already won the same match in 2012, it's quite an interesting fact. Like a little bit of focus and good form, I think he can do it, and he's going to be my favorite to watch actually. Once there is no Tiger Woods out there, I would love to watch Rory and win this match.
And in terms of Tiger Woods, if we go back obviously to his career, approximately how many PGA championships has he actually acquired? I just wanted to have an idea. Obviously, when we talk about Tiger Woods, so we surely need to get more of the information on that side too.
I recently came across, like, we all know that he has won 15 majors out there, 16 majors out there. But regarding PGA championships, I don't have the exact number. I just came across, I think he's won 2 of them.
Right.
And I guess he's won like 5 majors or something. But regarding Tiger, the world of golf always revolves around him. Everybody is just wishing him a quick recovery, and they just want to see him back and playing, and a lot of people just wish him a good life, like with his kids and everybody. Like, he's done enough for the game, and he's surely going to do more for the game.
Right.
But we can just sit it out and wait it out. Let's see what happens with Tiger. We just wish him a good recovery.
Absolutely. One interesting question, Zen, I was wondering I'd ask you. Because of the fact that coronavirus situation came into place, and most of the events, in terms of even the major events for golf, have actually slipped a bit forward in terms of weather. For instance, if some event that actually had to occur maybe in April is now concluding right now, so there would be a major change and major turn of events in terms of the weather, which surely will be a more interesting part, because most of these players who have actually won know the course and the weather mostly. But now, as the weather has also shifted, how do you think they'll have to adapt to the situation?
Well, coming to the point of regarding the schedules, yes, the COVID situation had really impacted the golf schedule for the whole last year that went along, and the tours made sure that the major championships are conducted only, and a few other matches maybe. But interestingly, the whole of the PGA Tour and the European tours, they are more than 90%, they are being conducted on schedule this year. And so we are hoping it's going to continue for the years to come. Last week, just like we discussed last week, the crowds are coming back, and things are improving.
Right.
And coming to the weather, it reminds me of a meme that I just read last week, that your friends who are most aware of the weather conditions, they are your golfing friends, because they're always aware when to play, when not to play, and what is the condition, how much is the wind.
Right.
So yes, these guys are going to get impacted by the weather, but besides the weather, it's the windy condition in the ocean course besides the Atlantic that is having a huge impact. I mean, these are 30 miles per hour winds that come up quite often, and it's going to be quite challenging for all the players out there.
Right.
Yeah, weather is going to have an impact.
Well, thank you so very much, Zan, for giving us an insight on the PGA Championship. We'll surely discuss more in terms of the world of golf with you very soon. Thank you once again.
Looking forward to always, Alamdar. Thank you.
So yes, that was, obviously he gave us an in-depth analysis in terms of how the situation is going, and surely, obviously it's the day one, let things flow, and with time we'll probably get a clear picture by Sunday who actually wins. But anyways, that was pretty much from the world of golf. I will jump over into an interesting story. Yes, we talk about Premier League, let's talk about football. In Premier League, finally Liverpool is up there on the top 4. They finally managed to do that after scoring 3-0 victory versus Burnley. And yes, as we all know, in the top charts that are out there right now, Manchester City actually won that, but after that it's Manchester United, then Chelsea, and then Liverpool. Everybody did have a lot of hope from Liverpool, but I think they were even down to number 7. but finally they have moved up to the top 4, and being there, I think this would surely allow them to take their journey forward. Anyways, they will be facing Crystal Palace on Sunday, so let's see how things flow by for them. Anyways, this was pretty much from the world of football. I'll quickly jump over to the world of Olympics. And yes, in terms of Olympics, the IOC chief actually announced that, besides the COVID surge in Japan, they will still continue the Olympics that is actually happening. Unfortunately, it had been delayed for quite some time. There have been major ups and downs and major breakthroughs, but recently there's a big COVID surge, and a lot of people have actually announced, and they've signed a petition to the governments suggesting that they should not be conducting the Olympics. But I think finally they have come up to a decision that they will still continue, and they have given actually a go-ahead despite the COVID surge in Japan. Anyways, guys, this was pretty much it from the world of sports. If you're going to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus New Sports. And that's basically both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourself, and bye-bye.